for my past episodes, I'm the one who's driving, and we are usually in Nairobi National Park.
Yes.
But today is a unique episode. We are in Mount Kenya Life Conservancy in Nanyuki, and you're my guest, but I'm also your guest today.
Yeah, welcome, Mr. Kemani.
Yes, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. And we're going to take a tour of the conservancy, and you're going to show me around. I wanted that we start the conversation with bongos.
Yes.
Because that's one of the things that fascinated me with Mount Kenya Life Conservancy. There's a video that I did last year in May. It's called "The Most Beautiful Antelope in the World."
Yes.
Right? That was the title of the video.
Okay.
And it was based on some footage that I had taken a few weeks before when I came here. And it was about the bongo. And I fell in love with this antelope. And I wanted to know, how did it start, the love for the bongo for you? When was the first time you saw a bongo and decided, okay, this is the animal that I want to protect?
Yeah, I think the first time I can remember the story of the bongo, I had forgotten about it completely, because the bongos those days, as I grew up in near Mount Kenya, in Madeira, and we were next to the forest our early days. I remember that the bongos, those early days in the 60s, they used to cross to come and eat the potatoes, and we used to chase them at night with fire because of their destruction nature. And by the time 50 years passed later, again I come across here in Mount Kenya, and the issue of the bongos are extinct. I asked myself, how can they be extinct? These were the animals that few years back, and when you talk of the 60s and now, it looked few years, but when you compare that, it's a 50-year, and then it tells you how fast we are destroying the animals that have been inhabiting in the places we lived. And I gather, apart from bongo, there must be other species that have disappeared within the time. With this was lucky because one of the things that happened here in this conservancy, the former owners were exporters of the wildlife from here to Europe, and Don Hunt was one of the exporters. And when the banning of the export of the animals in the 70s by the late Jomo Kenyatta happened, then they were left here, some of them, and the others had already been exported. Then later on, they brought in 18 bongos, and those are the ones, the nucleus that started, but only half of them survived. The other half perished. And from there, it has been a long journey until we took over ourselves, and then we started the program. It never grew up until we took over, and this is how we have been able to get to almost 100 of these animals. And we thank the government for also allocating the land to ensure that they are not confined into one species, because they always used to reach a certain number and they would die. But since we started reallocating them or into the new surroundings, they have been able to multiply faster and to breed in a better way.
Yeah, and then this new surrounding is now the Mingu Sanctuary.
This is the Mingu Sanctuary that we are talking about, and we have been able to fence the Mingu Sanctuary using our own funds. And this is one of the examples that I would want to set for Africa, where the Africans themselves need to hold their wildlife as their own inheritance, that they can be able to perpetuate it to the next generation. I look at this and I compare it like how when we go to the museums in Europe and to a museum like in France, the Louvre in France, it gets 10 million tourists. You pay $30 to go in. It has been there for hundreds of years. Why would we Africans not hold this as our jewel, as the thing that we want to perpetuate to the next generation? Because minerals will be excavated and finished, but if we hold on to our wildlife, it can be the only place that you can be going to the safari, even now, in the whole of the world. That is what Africans needs to see, and they treat it as their wealth.
Yeah, it's our own natural resource.
Yes.
And so because Mingu Sanctuary was opened 2 years ago, in 2022, And so far you've close to 100 bongos. One thing that I found interesting, that I took a tour there with Dr. Robert, you have the AI cameras, whereby if a bongo passes, it automatically takes a picture of it, which helps with security work. And also, as you've said, you're investing in electric cars within. How is technology and innovation important in conservation?
Really, technology is heading to really be the savior of a lot of things in this in the conservation.
Yeah.
Because right now you can be able to know the animals that are there and where they are by either having a chip on its horn or even having a drone to be able to go through and be able to ensure you can be able to see with the camera fitted where they are, and also for the protection of the poachers. Lucky enough, this sanctuary, because of the community, we have been friendly with the communities, and the communities, we have given them work to also work in this sanctuary. We have not had a lot of any of the poaching.
Yeah.
I think we only had one case, and it was reported quite fast by the community. And after that, we were able to nail the gentleman who had infiltrated.
Yeah.
So again, the technology itself will play its big part towards apart from the protection, but also in knowing how do we breed these animals to the next, because it keeps on changing. And now we are on to seeing, fine, by breeding the bongos ourselves,
Yeah.
what is the best way we can be able to fast track this? Because we don't want the bongos to remain here. We want to ensure that they go back to the mountains they belong to. Remember that when you destroy the habitat, the bongos also perish, because they only live to where the air is very clean and also up the mountains. And these are the water towers. So we really need to ensure that we get back to that, and we want to see that in the next 30 years or 40 years to come, Buru, Sherengani, wherever the bongos existed, we have reintroduced them. That is the purpose we set ourselves to do as a conservationist in this area.
Yeah. And so, where did conservation come in for you? Because first of all, I remember one of your first businesses was the Green Corner restaurant in 1984. And so you started off in the hospitality industry, in a sense, right? So tourism has always been in your way of thinking and how you do your work. When did it switch to conservation?
It's been a journey in my mind, and you keep on asking yourself, you are getting to that age. God has blessed you. You have had good tidings of our wealth that you have created. What do you want to leave as your legacy for the next, and for the community and for the country itself? And I thought one of the things that we should be able to contribute ourselves to is the issue of the conservation. And the conservation doesn't mean only the animals. We need to go deeper, that we can also do the conservation of the plants. I remember when I was growing up, my father used to treat animals that had certain diseases with herbs. Yeah, and then those herbs have disappeared. So it's one of the things that we are looking up with this ranch. How can we get into that and not only be with the animals, is also the plants that used to treat this. And that's why you find our program that we are so much into the planting of the trees. Like what we have shown you here, we have created a 40,000 trees that we have. Now we have got the next one that we are doing, but we want to see both of them, conservation and the nature conservation. They coexist. Yeah. And the minute that we try to detach one, the other one cannot survive. And this true. We have seen it everywhere we have been. And I think the Kenya government, and it's not only the government, it's ourselves that we need to do that. Yeah. And here we are lucky. We get 20,000 kids coming through here every year to be taught about conservation. And this is what I'm looking at, to increasing, that we see in the next 5 years we reach 100,000 kids that can come here on this trip. They come and they are taught from the plants themselves to the wildlife themselves.
Yeah,
to the wildlife itself, and what can we be able to do? What's the best for them? And the best time for them is now, when they are young.
When they're young,
because they will understand. And the things that we are trying to inculcate to these kids is, at the end of the day, when the father comes with that meat of an antelope or anything, they refuse to eat.
Yeah.
If they can refuse to eat that meat, the message goes very clear to the father and the mother that this is wrong. And if we start doing that, in a few years to come, they will know this is the inheritance that they need to leave to their next and their next generation. That is the key thing that we are trying to get into this sanctuary.
Sanctuary.
Yeah.
And so here we have wild beasts.
Yes, we have wild beasts. We have the zebras, different types of zebras.
Yeah. Let's go back in time. Do you have a good memory of running a restaurant in the 80s?
A lot of memory of that. It was our first business that we did, but I think it's an enjoyment that I did, and any work that I pick, I love. I involve myself deeply in it because I love it. Like now on this conservation, we have just begun. We have only on the planning stage of where we want to go on the conservation. So it's too early, but on the memory of the green corn, a lot had happened that we learned a lot about that.
Yeah.
And it taught me a lot of the business, because restaurant is a very interesting business and people don't see it that way, because restaurant is an industry.
Yeah.
You bring raw material, and with a raw material, you have got so little time to produce as an end product on the other end.
Yeah.
And you have less than 20 minutes to produce that and make it sure that it's on the other. I remember very well when I was in the green corner those early days. I used to be on the floor myself, and on the floor itself, my most important person I used to want to see is the person who did not finish my steak. And why I did that was I wanted to know what is wrong.
Okay.
And most of the people 98% would say, I'm coming from a doctor's place, I'm going to a doctor's place. And I used to ask, give me the bill, I give you complimentary. I can assure you, Brian, less than 8% agreed to get the complimentary. What they always told me, I'll pay for this, I'll come back when I'm feeling better, and give me that complimentary when I come back.
Yeah.
What was interesting is when they ever came back, she or he did not come alone. He was always coming with people. And we ended up creating the next, apart from Green Corner, a place called Twigs.
Yeah.
We made the best ice creams. And what was interesting was this place, it broke the barrier between colors, because it had Indians queuing for the ice creams, the Africans, the whites. It was all because of the quality that we did in these places.
Yeah.
And whenever you do something, do it with your heart, with a passion that completed. You will always win when you are doing it from inside deep in your heart.
Yeah.
And it's something that I really miss those years.
Yeah. And you mentioned having Twigs and Green Corner restaurant. And I know that you got the idea from traveling abroad, of going to coffee shops, and that inspired you to start, and you are very hands-on in everything that you take part in. So you do the restaurant business in the 80s, and then you switch to the energy industry. When do you, because one thing I've realized is that once you pick something, you do it to the best of your ability, at some point you will venture into something else. When do you know it's time to move from one industry to another? Because that's a talent that very few people have. You know, people want to get comfortable, do one thing and just stick to that thing.
I think one of the things that I've been lucky is to open my eyes to opportunities. Okay. Because in the energy sector, I remember that we entered into petroleum because the South Sudan was coming up that time and the roads were being constructed. We are not the constructor of the roads. There was the Horses brothers, they were the contractors of the roads, and there was shortages of petroleum going there. So we created a way of getting all the products through Uganda, a town called Kaboko. We went and created a storages there. And if you remember, there was the Ethiopian hunger, and there was the issue of a big show that was done by Bono, the musician, and all that.
Yeah.
And then during that time, they created trucks that were ferrying the products or they're distributing the food in the South Sudan, in Ethiopia. After that hunger was finished, the distribution of the food, those trucks were given to horses, or they were bought by horses, and then we utilized them to track the product in Sudan, in South Sudan, because there were no roads. Remember, before, to fly the foods, they needed the jet fuel. So that jet fuel had to be tracked to somewhere nearest, because a helicopter doesn't fly. It can fly, but then the cost of flying it for a long distance, because it can't carry heavy weight, was too expensive. So we had to move the foods or the fuel by trucks to the nearest place where they could put them in the helicopters, and then they go dropping the food in various places, because there were no roads that time.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting into that. That's how I came up into the petroleum industry, and then from there it was a very profitable business those days. We ended up seeing what is the next opportunity. We ended up going to Congo, and from Congo the mines were opening up, the copper, the decarbonization story had started, and the copper prices had started rocketing up, and then there was a big increase, and that's where we also concentrated our efforts onto delivering petroleum products into Congo. And while we were going to Congo, then Zambia, because of the mines growing up, they started running short of fuel, and then it became a very profitable market in Zambia, and that's how we ended up being in 8 countries in
Africa,
in the distribution of products.
Yeah. Has your business interest always been in Africa? Why Africa?
I think Africa has got a bag. Once you get into Africa, and remember, whenever you go to new places, there is a way of, you have to learn their culture, their places. Even if you go to Tanzania, or you go to Uganda, or you go to Mozambique, the difference will be little. There will be differences, of course, of doing business there, but they are very near to each other. And what I believe in is extricate whatever you have maximum. Like now, I'm challenging my people. Some of the places that we are in, we are less than 5% in the volumes that are consumed in that country. Why don't we make it 7.5%? Why don't we make it 8%? So we are in that region of how do we move ourselves from 3 to 5 to Congo, where you want to go to grow. So I don't think we are yet out of that. But what we have done is, apart from petroleum, we are now more into green energy. Is the place that we are going off, solarization. And one of the key things that we are trying to do in Africa, in the places of the mining, is to ensure that wherever there is these diesel generators that are there, we try to put in a solar to hybridize the both, so that during the day they can produce their power from solar and reduce the carbon footprint. Because each of us has a duty to ensure that we leave this world a better world, and the only way to do that is using the solar, where instead of thinking that you have to make your revenues or you have profits from selling petroleum that has got its own damage that you are causing, what is the reverse that you can be able to? So my group has started now on the issue of solar, which we have done 25 megawatts in Uganda. We are following another one in one of the countries, 200 megawatts that we are due to put up in one of the countries, and we are on the tendering process to ensure that we can be able to put that in the next 2-3 years.
And that's now with renewable energy.
Yes.
Even in Karen, right?
In Karen, the hub, our shopping center. In the next thing is we'll now start also going to the lithium batteries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you think about ideas, are you constantly thinking about where we are going? Or is it intuition? Does it come just?
I look at where we are going because as much as people are pushing back on this issue of clean energy, and us, there's two things that I look at it now. We must also look at Africa itself. Where are they on that emission carbon? Where are they in industrialization? We must factor in both that. Both must, for it to coexist, both must find a space for each other. Because if we don't create industries, we are due to have havoc. And you cannot create industries without a cleaner, with the only clean energy. You have to have a hybrid. How do we create that? It's very important because at the end of the day, we must industrialize. We must ourselves find the ways of our kids to look for jobs. How do they get these jobs? Yeah, without creating industries.
That's true.
So it is something that bothers me quite a lot. As I get to the number of the years that we are coming to, and as a parents, I see where are we going? Because you can't just say solar, no. And we saw that when Russia cut the gas to Europe, they kicked their coal plants very fast. They kicked they brought back the energy from their nuclear quite fast. So Africa has to see to balance itself, and nobody is going to do that. It's us who have to know what direction do we want to go, because as much as you want to take somebody else's a blueprint, it can't be yours. So what is this blueprint that Africa wants to go with, and to ensure that we create these industries that are needed.
And they have to be sustainable.
Yes, they have to be sustainable, and we are lucky as Africa because the raw materials are here. Why do you need to mine this copper and take it to China to refine, and you have power here that you can refine and create the industries here? Yeah. We look at even the coffee. The coffee is grown here. Then it goes to Germany, and then if you find the grower of this coffee doesn't even make 10%.
That's true.
No, it doesn't. Actually, he will be lucky to even get 3% of the pricing of that. So how do we add value, and how do we get that direction? Because for me, the most important thing is the leadership. At the end of the day, you find the biggest killer of any good idea is the corruption.
Yeah, corruption is the killer of everything.
It's the killer of everything because it kills the ideas of that person who is innovative. And then it slows everything that you can think of at the end of the day. And that's why the group that we have, we learn very little, or almost. We are not on the government tenders or anything. We we learn most of it on the private sector.
Yeah. So this now is the brown zebra.
Yeah, these are brown zebras that you can see. They hang together, but interesting, they are okay with the striped zebras. Let's not yet seen the buffaloes. I think we have to look at them.
Okay.
Where we have the buffaloes and giraffes.
Yeah.
In this place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even giraffes here. You do have giraffes as well.
Giraffes. I want to see where we could see the giraffes. Can you see that? Could that be giraffes? Oh, no. No. That's elands.
That's elands,
left there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they are doing very well.
Yeah.
The wildlife here.
Yeah. Let's go through the roads here. Then we'll see them.
Yeah.
Cruise in some of the roads up there.
Yes. So something unique about the conservancy, it's right at the foot of Mount Kenya.
Yeah.
The Mount Kenya. Right?
Yeah.
And we spoke a while back, and you told me that you wanted to create a route where hikers can hike to Mount Kenya from the hotel.
Yes.
Is this still happening? Are you still?
We have sort of shelved that because there is good routes that we have found that have been there in existence. What is remaining is for them to have the the right attention, because what lacks in those places is you find there is no toilet, there's no place to sleep, and it really looks neglected. And if you look at your neighbor here, Kilimanjaro, everywhere you go, there is a toilet, clean toilets, places to sleep, and also you can have internet even when you're on top of Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
What does it take us to be able to do that? So I thought the best way is to try to engage the KWS, our government, and see how do we clean up the routes that we have. It's something that we have not been able to embark completely, but we are still on the path of creating that. Because when we create a complete new path, there will be the cutting of the trees, and also the animals. There will be disturbances of the animals that have used their paths. So we got conscious of that, and we said, why don't we use what is existing and then try to clean it up? It's still one of the things that are at the back of our mind, and we will need the government itself to be part of it and to be aware, because that leadership in the government of ensuring that the most sustainable way of ensuring that whatever we do, it is sustainable, because there's no need of going and creating something and then 10 years down the line it has fallen off.
Mount Kenya Safari Club. There's a time you showed us a room where I think William Holden stored his films.
Yes.
And you are passionate about, keeping that history. Do you like films? Are you into films?
I really never spend time on the films. Yes, I like to see the film once the movie is developed. Yes, but we need also to think, how do we enhance? If I had the time, I would have wanted to invest in it. And how do we enhance the people who are there, the youngsters who want to get into the film industries?
Yeah.
Because you find that was a white man who came. He created that, and now it's over what? It's over 60 years ago. 60 years ago. And he had that vision that he can create the films here. Why don't we have the people now trying to do that? We have the talents here. So what is the next thing that we need to do? And unfortunately, you find that the people who would want to come and do that here, there is such a heavy tax levy on even the cameras that they come with, and a lot of you find, to do that industry, the government has to think deeper. Then they have to liberalize, and they have to assist, because when you get a movie that is shot in Kenya and is being shown in New York or wherever it is, whether that money has made money or out of it, the footprint that you need to do is it is done in Kenya. That is all what you need to ensure that person does. That is what I see that we will need to think about it as a government itself. Because
like social media has really helped people to see that young people have talents on TikTok, on YouTube.
Exactly.
Like even what I'm doing right now, right?
Yes.
It's my own production, in itself, but there's talent. There are very many young people who can benefit from film, and they have nice stories to tell.
And localize the story. And there is nobody better of telling the story than a local person. You do not require a white boy or a Chinese boy to come and tell the story of Africa.
Exactly.
It has to be told by the African
themselves.
And the things that I see that is most important is to create jobs for these youngsters. That is one thing that keeps bothering me. Really, what is the next? And lucky enough, the African boy or girl is not requiring the millions or whatever it is. He's not a complicated person, but they need a life that is also decent life living. And it can be gotten because when he shoots that movie and he is able to sell it or even broadcast it, he still can make a life of himself. And that is where we need to see we become an employer of ourselves, the talented employer ourselves. That is a key thing. And working in the tourism and wildlife industry, one thing that I've realized even here is that the biggest of your workforce is young people. Yes.
At the restaurant,
young people.
Young people. At the orphanage, young people.
Yes.
Which is something that, even talking to you, is something that is dear to you. What do you think maybe the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife could, think about knowing that their biggest workforce in restaurants, in hotels, is the young people.
I see, and if we are not careful, we are going to slide down and down and down, because the neighbors have really woken up.
Yeah.
I did a trip a few months back into Tanzania for 10 days, and I was shocked. The youngsters are all Tanzania full there, and if you fight the amenities, starting from the toilet paper, the toilets that are in the parks,
Yeah.
they are so clean, so running water and everything that is there. So what is the way that we need to do to sustain, to make sure that ours competes?
Yeah.
And I told you, Brian, one of the key things that you get bothered a lot is when that man is entering with his cameras, the bribe that is being asked to pay. And yet, what he doesn't see is this man, when he comes, it will help his kid, his grandchildren, by this film being broadcasted everywhere in the world. And this now, how many youngsters does he also employ during that time he comes? So I think it's a question of us as Kenyans moving from this thinking of individualistic and what I gain by asking these tourists $20 or $50 for that day to bring this camera, to seeing the bigger picture. I think we are missing the bigger picture in this. And you see even all this uprising that these kids are uprising. Why?
Yeah.
They have got education.
Yeah.
They are getting married. The wife has got no job. The man has got no job himself. So it is a question of us waking up and seeing, how do we create these jobs? It is not one man, it is everybody. But then the government has to see and rise up, as the president said, that he's going to deal ruthlessly with the corruption. That he has to be seen to be doing completely, because if we're going to change it, the change can only be now. Otherwise, we are sitting on a time bomb of this youth.
Again, as you say, they have the knowledge, they have the energy, right?
Yes.
So if we decide to go the physical way, they will definitely take over.
Yes.
But corruption is denying them opportunities.
And that's what they are saying. They are not asking for anything else. I want that if I can be able to shoot a small movie and put it out there, I'll get my few cents. But you can't now come up and say, okay, we have to share, or I can, that you did not put an effort in it.
Yeah, like the Kenya Film Board, they try to for us YouTubers, we woke up one morning and they were sending emails to YouTubers telling them that they want a piece of. And you can imagine you're buying your own equipment,
yes,
right? No one has helped you, you've saved. I started using with a phone, and then I graduated to cameras. And then the money that you make from YouTube takes a percentage. It takes about 45%.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It takes a percentage, and then 55% goes to the creator.
But what about TikTok? How does the TikTok work?
TikTok as well, you get a percentage, but the AdSense on YouTube is bigger in terms of margins. So with TikTok, I think you have to get plenty of views for you to make good money. But for creators, the money does not come from the video itself. It comes from sponsorships. So let's say you see how I'm making this video.
Yes.
I could ask the conservancy to sponsor this video, right?
Yes.
So they could pay me a certain amount because I'm also promoting them, and then it could help me promote it.
Yes.
So that's where the money comes in. Or if I do another episode with another brand, they can pay for it, and they can give me more opportunities. That way, as a content creator, then you get at least some money to help with paying for more equipment, paying an editor if you don't know how to edit.
Yes. And this is what we need to encourage. Let the people be able to employ the next 2, 3, 5. And that's why you bring out this unemployment animal that is really, really gonna eat us alive. Unless we create these jobs for these youngsters, there's no way we'll be able to survive as a country to the next.
Yeah.
Because again, these youngsters have got the energy, they wake up with the energy. What are you going to do?
Exactly.
Yeah? You cannot face them and fight them, whichever it is. It's just the same thing in this conservancy. We choose to go one way instead of fighting the people who used to hunt the bongos and all that. We went the other direction of ensuring that they get our jobs, and whether it's planting of the trees, they are sharing on what we have. These are the buffaloes.
Maybe buffaloes.
Yeah, that are there. Some of the herd of the buffaloes that we have on this.
Yeah, maybe we can stop. Oh. It's a vicious animal.
It is, but it's okay. The worst is the male when it's the mating time and then it has been kicked out. Those ones, when I'm cycling here, I avoid very much because I do the cycling early in the morning. At 6 in the morning, I do the cycling through here.
Yeah, you really take care of your health, yeah?
Well, if you don't have health, you have nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you walk a lot. I see you walk a lot.
Yes.
And you cycle as well.
I cycle a lot. I go to the gym quite a lot.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time. I've been in this for over 40 years. I've just done that.
Yeah. As an entrepreneur, one of my favorite quotes from you, and it's something that I always think about, is you say that the only time you start from the top is when you're digging yourself a hole.
A well.
A well, yes. So there's that perception that if, let's say, I want to, like for example with YouTube, right? If I want to make videos, I need the big cameras. You can start with your phone. You can start with what you have.
Exactly. I started off with that green corner, that importation of one single car from there, or things that I did.
Yeah.
And what I have realized, Brian, over time, when you have free time, you spend a lot of your money. When you are occupied, you don't spend money at all.
Yeah.
Actually, if you find most of the people who have a lot of work to do and whatever, they are not spenders, because where will you get the time of spending?
That's true.
Yeah. It's all that, and focusing on one thing and trying to finish it is very, very important, that I've seen. And there's no need of taking 10 things and not getting one finished. I always say that even if you divided the whole wealth of the world and shared it equally, within 5 years it will be back to where it began, because you must be, in your own mind, be able to create it. Because wealth doesn't disappear, it only moves from one pocket to the other. Yeah. So at the end of the day, you must be the creator of that to keep it going. I don't know whether we'll be able to see any bongo here.
Bongos from here, okay.
Yeah, it's a bit dense here, but we'll try and see.
We'll try and...
one of the places that we can be able to see it.
Yeah. Bongos like staying in a forest.
Very forested, very thicket areas.
Yeah.
But they have also now, because of, they become very aggressive nowadays, because of now they have almost gone to wild, and and they're able to fight even leopard when it tries to grab its young baby.
Yeah. So your goal is to rewild all of them?
Yes, we would want to rewild. That's our main work. Is not to keep, is to rewild them, and we are hoping that as we expand the area for letting them out, they will become more wild, that they can protect themselves. We have to try and go to another boma to see where they are.
At the moment, their biggest threat is leopards and hyenas?
Leopards, hyena.
Yeah.
There's one.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, it's a female, huh?
There's a female, one that is there.
Very shy.
It's shying away, but we should be able to see. No, that's not a bongo. That is
a waterbuck.
Waterbuck, yeah. I'm sure.
Though they share the same space?
Yes. It's good to keep them in the same spaces for one thing. When a leopard wants to, if it's still hungry, you're giving it a choice of meal. Yeah. If the bongo is very aggressive and is protecting its babies, then it's able to go to the one that is less aggressive and get food for itself.
For itself, yes.
The coexistence is very important.
Yes,
because the
that's
leopard
true.
has to feed, and the bongo has to live.
That's true.
Yeah. We have to look at where we would see the bongos in the next. Yeah.
So you cycle every morning?
Alternative days. I go to the gym because I like also my weights. Okay. And then I cycle the next morning whenever I'm here.
It's obviously it's very good and relaxing.
Yes.
As an activity.
With all the challenges of life, You must find a balance.
Your health is important.
Is it? Yeah, you don't have anything if you don't have your health.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you have no health.
That's
no
true.
wealth without health.
That's true.
Yeah.
What other hobbies do you have? Do you have?
I try to spend a bit of time on reading.
Okay.
It is difficult, but still, because you go through so many files of work that you find yourself more reading to doing the work, because I'm still hands-on in my businesses.
Yes.
So, which is a bit, and you always have to pick up samples and see sampling of the things that are going through, whether it's through the accounts or whether it's things that are being released for the next, what we are planning for the next 3 years, 5 years, or the 7-year cycle that we normally plan for.
Yeah.
You need to keep on reviewing, are you on course or not? And that takes a bit of time. Yeah.
How do you manage decision making? Because I know every decision you make affects a lot of situations, especially having a very big workforce. Do you have a method that you use when you're making a decision?
I try as much as possible not to be the person who is making the decision. I like it coming from bottom, but I also sample those decisions sometimes. I can be able to, I'm the sort of a person to call and want to listen to somebody who is on the site. Like now we have got site in Pemba in Mozambique that we are constructing. So at the end of the day, I want to hear them, what they are saying, what is lacking, what is the machinery that is down. So I don't want to sit in the office and just start getting the stories without knowing what is happening.
In the ground.
Not that my people or the senior people are not. I have my duty to do, and the senior person has got his duty. So I've always encouraged my people that whenever I'm getting to that person who is with the machinery or machine operator, it's not that I wanted to jump the supervisors or anything. No, the supervisor has got his job to do. I have my job to do also. Yeah. And that is why most of these businesses have sort of been able to stay profitable and exist for those many number of years. Remember, we have been in the businesses for over 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that's a very good point you've given, because there's a podcast I was watching, and Jeff Bezos said that every time he goes into a meeting, he'll make sure he'll talk last.
Yes.
So that, because if he says something, then it will influence the other people what they will tell you, because they will want to please you. But if you just let them first tell me, they give you a problem, and then you ask them, so how would you solve it?
Yeah. And it's a very important point, because, Brian, even the person who cooks the tea, I can assure you that Mogo who cooks the tea at my place in the offices, he knows how to cook that tea better than myself. Why do I want to think that I know better? I only want to listen to him. How does he do it? And then he can tell me he can do this or that. The only place I can be able to turn him about is, what about looking at this, doing a healthier cup of tea using this herb I've studied about? And he'll tell me, bring it, we try. Otherwise, I cannot cook a better tea than him.
Yeah. How do we, because you're the only Kenyan, you're the only wealthy Kenyan that I've seen that has ventured into conservation. How do we get more people who are able to get, because first of all, you have a very big workforce. You've employed very many people here in the local community, even here in the conservancy. Most people that I talk to are people that are neighboring communities here.
Yeah.
Secondly, you're doing something for the environment, climate change, and it's a very expensive affair.
Yeah.
How do you get more people to venture into conservation instead of venturing into other businesses like malls and all that?
I think it all begins on a mindset and the encouragement that our government would want to give, because at the end of the day, if they wanted to have a tax break for the people venturing into this market of tourism and or conservation, and it's a big employer.
Yes.
Because when we started, Brian, we said, how do we get the youngsters to be engaged in a way that it becomes a meaningful engagement?
Yeah.
Not just going to create things that are not meaningful and they are not sustainable. What is this? Because I believe for every tourist who comes into the country, he creates a job for 4 people. Why do I say 4 people? the person who grew that potato or carrot, the person who makes that bed, the chef, the waiter. If you work out, every tourist who comes, he needs a support of 4 people to do the catering for them. And this is why, imagine yourself, Keman, if we had 5 million tourists coming to this country, multiply that by 4.
That's 20 million.
You take away 20 million of unemployment. And Kenya has got the best foundation, let me tell you. Nobody has got a better foundation than Kenya on that. Because if you look at the hotels at the coast, empty. If you look at the 5-star hotels that are, or they're Intercontinental, Hilton, closed down, ask yourself why. What is going wrong? There must be something going terribly wrong.
That's true.
But we must ask ourselves, as the readers or the people who are in this space, how do you change?
Yeah, and it's even more than 4, because that person will use an Uber.
Yes, right? It's quite a whole ecosystem that spreads in this.
Yeah.
But what kills ourselves is that selfishness.
Yeah.
Thinking about you yourself. It can't work. It will not be possible to work that way. But I'm hoping that we will be able to change and see how do we get this.
Yeah.
How do we change this of what is happening? Kenya is a beautiful country, and there is enough for everybody if we all focus on how do we make that place better.
Yeah.
How do we change that mindset that I want to grab even a toilet paper that is put in the public. You want to go to that toilet and take it into your bag and carry it. Not because that you can't afford it. It's a mental.
Yeah.
It's a mental setup that we really need to change. And I was surprised by as I was telling when I went to Tanzania and I saw their parks and how they are.
Yeah. For someone who's young, right? Someone in their 20s, they've just gotten a job, or someone in their 30s who are still, trying to they're still in their early employment years. Do you have any advice that you can give them on, what kind of investment they should make, how they should view employment, and
I view the employment as the first part of creating discipline, and there's nowhere Kimani will go without the discipline, and people always underrate that. And I have always said, even my own kids, they started off with being employed. My own daughter went on, when she went to the university, she finished the university in France. I set her to be employed as a wine distributor in France. Okay. Then she learned the culture, she was able to communicate and learn the language of that place. When my son finished university, I sent him to Vivo for 4 years. He was working with them. Then the discipline to him, he knows that you got to wake up this time. There is a respect of that hierarchy, and that is what I believe that as a youngsters is good to employ them, to have that employment. But if it doesn't come, there must be a way, even yourself, you can be able to run from others, that this, I need to do it. And I feel that for the youngsters, what I can say is the major thing is take one thing and do it so well that at the end of the day, it earns you what you need to. And treat it like a business that, fine, create value. Keep your books of accounts properly. Because a lot of that, even the push of the government of paying tax, is not a bad thing, Brian. Because at the end of the day, a business is only worth the tax you pay.
That's true.
Yeah, because when you go to sell, and one thing that I did not do in my years, we paid good taxes, but I did not go creating a green corner, 2, 3, 4, 5, and later a brand and selling it as a brand. And my mind was not into that. It kept on changing into something else. But when I look back, I could have created a big value if I created it up and sold. So for the youngsters, I would say create it and create it so well that at the end of the day, if you want it and say, fine, I will exit this business after this number of years or after it reaches this value, and I go and create another one. So to the youngsters, I would only want to encourage them one thing. There is always, in this market, there is always a way of getting to the next level.
Yeah.
And also the main thing is trust. Build trust in what you do. if you borrow money, to make sure that it is paid, whether it's bank or individual. I can tell you myself, when I began, is some of the older people who are with me, who I used to borrow money from them, and lucky enough that those days the trust was the main thing, and yet they charged a higher interest, but I paid. Sometimes it was painful to pay, but I paid until I got to a point now. I had no interest on borrowing from private. I went to the banks. But even today, one thing that I always say, make a loss by keeping your word, but you'll go too far. You'll go far.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing that you can ever have. Yeah.
And it's very important because then even in business, right? That's how opportunities come in.
Yes, the opportunity can keep on knocking to you because they know that you can be able to do it and you can keep the word.
Your word.
Yeah. And that is something that has disappeared a lot
That's true.
In Kenya. That we have
trusting someone, even a simple job like a plumber coming to your house to fix.
Yeah.
You're still skeptical.
Yeah, that you have to lock all the doors so that he doesn't take this.
Wines of the world.
Yes.
How did it begin? How did you get into the alcohol beverage business?
I think the wines of the world, I look at it, I created Green Corner this side, and then there was a gap here. And that time, the only wine that was being sold in the market was wines from the Germany, like the Black Tower, Blue Nun, and all that. And these were all very sweet wines and sugar and everything. I had already traveled the world and I knew the differentiations of the good wines. I was a good traveler in Italy, early days. I went to France when I was still young, Spain, and all these things. So I started asking myself, is this the only thing that Kenya Wine Agency can be able to bring? And I started bringing the first container of the wines. Definitely there was the fights between ourselves and Kwal, and later on we were able to win the fights and then at least ended up getting into the wines. Then Kwal became my distributor because they feared us going into the market ourselves. I agreed, but I knew my plan of where I was going. At the end of the day, the monopoly of the monopolies were kicked out, and then there was availability of the wines that you couldn't get licensed to bring the wines yourself. So I got into the wines with a big passion, and that's the time that we occupied over 70% of the market of wines. Then when the petroleum came, I sort of diverted my attention and I left it to my nephews, but it never kept as high as it went to. But it's still a passion. I love my wines. I love the traveling, but I can never be able to do it more like I did during the early days.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at where the giraffes are.
Oh, okay.
I don't understand what side they would be.
We can try this side.
Yeah.
So just a fun question for someone who doesn't really know much about wine. How would you advise them to pick if they want to pick up wine for, let's say, a date?
You know, wine, I always say, is your taste.
Okay.
And it goes on. The entry point people have of a wine, you find that they start with a sweet wine.
Yeah.
And as they go by later, they find that most of these sweet wines, you find that the sugar has been added. And the best way of picking up a wine, I always tell people, what is the effect of the next day? If you find that it's giving you a headache, that means it's a bad wine. That means the sugar content has been added. If you drink it and then you find that you are waking up being refreshed, but it made you feel good and relaxed, that's what I would. There's no one rule that I would say that I would apply on the wine itself, because all of us have got different taste buds. Yeah, and that's why I always say it is very individualistic. There are people who are into the white wine, they find it much more better and it refreshes them more. There are others who swear by the red wine, that it is the health benefits and everything else. Yeah, so there's no one key thing that I would say, this is a rule that I would go with.
Apart from now waking up with a hangover.
Yes.
Yeah, because obviously you want to be productive.
Yes, you want to be productive the next day.
Yeah.
Man, we are quite big in the continent.
Yeah.
We are not only in Kenya, we are
that's true.
Everywhere in the country. I mean, we are in 8 countries, not everywhere.
In Africa?
In Africa.
Yeah. In Africa, which country are people underrating that in a few years it will be that country to watch out?
Our neighbor, Tanzania.
Tanzania.
It's something that you really have to watch out for to happen there, because one, they have got enough power through their gas, through their hydro, and also they have food. And remember, Tanzania is 1.75 size of Kenya.
Of Kenya, that's true.
And the population is 60, and thus we are on 50 what?
Yeah, 50 million, 52.
52 million.
Yeah.
So you can see, and also I think Kenya more than 60% is what we call semi-desert.
Yes.
And in Tanzania there's nothing like that.
There's
So
nothing like that, yeah.
it's a country to watch out. But lucky enough, Kenya, we have very hardworking people. The question is that I always say, yes, you want is how do you utilize the tax you get? How do you utilize the money you get, the tax you obtain from people? That utilization is where you need to say, is it best utilized? And as the president said the other day, the issue of waste has to be cut, wastage. But that needs to be followed to the letter to translate to action.
I know most of your conservation work is here in the forests with the bongo. Have you thought about marine life conservation?
Yes, it's almost coming there. Interesting, we haven't started, but there's one of the countries that we are looking at doing that on the marine life. We should be onboarding that by next year, and we are trying to do as much as we have done in Bongo, in these other countries. That we want to get to do that. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And right before we started, you were showing me the 40,000. Maybe you can go there. The 40,000 trees that you've planted. And obviously with conservation, right? There's the taking care of the animal itself. And the habitat restoration. Do you have future plans for the restoration of especially this habitat where you're planting trees? I've even seen that you want more trees in certain areas. What's the thing about planting trees that gets you, okay, this is something that I really want to do?
Yeah, Brian, what I see here is the issue of planning. Yes, we want to plant the commercial trees so that we are able to harvest within a short time and sell them. But at the end of the day, is that the best way of getting back into our route of conservation, or keeping the indigenous trees that were there before? Because once you have brought new species into the market, there is the danger that has come. Like now, I'm just driving through what we were calling the wiregrass that has been here. This was not here even less than 15 years. It was, yes, maybe in a small way, but you can see how it has covered the whole place. So apart from the trees planting, we are asking ourselves, what is the other way that we can improve our surroundings that we have today? We are trying to, as much as possible, when the KFS does the harvesting of their trees, we are trying to see, can we be able to now put indigenous trees so that they can be there forever and ever. And
what do you think about also what is happening all over the world, like in Gaza, Ukraine, Russia?
I think it is a very sad state when you see what is happening in the world, because that greed should not be there, and people should be held accountable of the actions they do, whether it's this year, next year, or 5 years. I believe the humanity must be held accountable, and the slaughtering of the people is not the answer. No.
Do we have a thirst for war? Is it because it happens after every few? I guess after World War II there was a break.
Yes.
Is it dominance, trying to show that we can control the world? Is it a business decision, or is it?
It's a very Brian, it's a very wide question, because who is the beneficiary? Because anything that is done, there's a benefit to it. Is it the manufacturer of the armaments?
Yes.
Or who is the real beneficiary of this? And why does he have to create it? That's why I'm saying that we have to ask ourselves, is it necessary?
The
for what is happening?
complex. Yeah.
Military industry has survived, and you can see now even China has really increased their research on the military industry.
Mm-hmm.
And now you find even countries that were never in the military material, like the Arab world, they are racing to that.
Yes. So you said, Kenya, we have the natural resource that we have is wildlife, and we have agriculture as a, geothermal.
Yes.
In Nigeria we have the oil,
Yeah.
right? South Africa we have the minerals. So where do we go wrong? Like Nigeria, for example, right? Leadership.
Everything boils to leadership. Ask
Yeah.
yourself, a small country like Switzerland is still one of the richest. A small country like Botswana is still the richest even today. And that has really surprised a lot of people.
Everything is leadership. Nothing else. The wealth is the people.
Yeah.
That is the biggest. And Kenya, we are very lucky because we have got very learned people,
Yeah.
very educated. That commitment that used to be there before needs to come back.
Of people knowing this is the only country you have.
Protect it. And that's why Kenya is very difficult to take Kenya into a civil war, because almost 90% of the people can lead. They'll ask you very sensible questions. You had even this Gen Z coming up to translating the budget to their local language. I mean, I was shocked.
Yeah.
Who would have thought of this coming to that level?
Yeah. And also creating programs. I've seen on TikTok, there are guys like, there's a guy called Mike Moshiri and a few other influencers. Before this financial bill, they were doing content on lifestyle, fashion, things that are happening in Kenya, funny comedy skits. But now they are spending their time, they are reading, bits of the constitution and, teaching people, what it says on how to impeach an MP or what to do. And these are young people who, a few months ago, they were doing trendy things. Now they are teaching even their parents. They're going home and telling their parents, don't do it. Next time you're voting, don't,
And it will be a very interesting years to come, because
This Gen Z, there will be almost 20 million voters.
Yeah.
I think the kind of MPs we'll see 2028 will be very interesting.
Yeah.
It has happened in Europe. I think we have seen, is it in Sweden or one of the countries there?
Yeah.
The prime minister is 22 or 24.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's going to happen.
It's changing.
Even in West Africa, is it young?
Yeah, the general. In a very articulate character.
Yeah. And very level-headed.
Yes.
Yeah. The last time I was here, I spotted a hyena early in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I even sent you a picture.
Cheetah. I've seen the cheetah. Last time I came, they were sitting on a lock.
Yeah.
As I entered, they were running out.
Yeah.
Because what has happened here is, because of Laikipia, that challenges they are having of the human, the human conflict with the animals, a lot of them are coming to get to Mount Kenya, and that's why they are migrating a lot to the Mount Kenya. So in between, as they go to Mount Kenya, they get hungry, they pass by, and they are able to make a home here before they go to their destination.
Then eventually here you have an overflow of wildlife. Eh?
We try, because we are fenced, we try to at least keep the ones inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is your relationship with the local community, like Kanyoni and the people that live?
I think we have got a very good relationship with the local community here. Mostly the women, because we employ a lot of the women, because all this weeding, the clearing, it's them who do it ourselves. Okay. Yes. Yeah. And now we want to get to the next project. We want to, wherever we are going to be releasing the bongos, we want to grow the plants that the bongos love to eat, and then we ensure that before the release in those areas, 5 years before, we give the community that is in those areas to grow them so in different parts. So when the bongos are released into that, they will find natural things that they are used to here. They can be able to go and eat in where they are finding. And that's why I'm saying this work of the bongo breeding and rewilding, that's why it is taking 30, 40 years, because of the areas that we have to get them to go, because some of them we want to try with a few, then you see the survival of them, And like Kemburu, it is a high time that KWS also advertised for a lodge there.
Yeah.
Because with a lodge, what it will mean is there will be protection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there will be people coming
Yeah.
in to see. So we have to work with the government so that the places that we are going to release this animal, they can also be able to be cared. Because for us, we just concentrating on breeding and rewilding them.
Yeah.
To take them to the next level is KWS, but also for us, we have a duty to also that wherever they are taking to the next place, we also have to feel that we are also comfortable because we spend a lot of money on this project.
Bongo. And case in point, we can talk about the event that happened in May this year, where you are releasing them back in the wild. And I remember you were talking about, in your speech, you're talking about how you grew up in Nyeri, and this has always been, this is your dream, right? To live an environment better than you found it.
I'm fortunate to have been able to turn my passion into action and be part of this remarkable journey. Today, we are glad to celebrate this milestone with all of you. This conservancy started as the holding grounds for exports of wildlife. Due to a decline in the bongo population, the Mount Kenya Wildlife Conservancy felt need to import and reintroduce bongos back to increase the population in their natural environment.
With that rewilding, how are these bongos doing? Because I remember you raised 10 of them, you released them?
The bongos that, lucky enough, we are very fortunate. This is the second release that we did.
Yes.
We have not been able to lose any of the bongos there. And remember, these are areas that are infested with leopards and all that.
Yeah,
but we have a process of rewilding. You see, like where I took you inside there, where we did not see any bongo. They are still there, but at a certain time when they come to feed, because we try to wean them out of the food slowly. I think once we come back at about 5, we'll be able to see them coming onto the feed.
Okay.
But where we release them, there's no feeding. You have to it has to look for the food for itself. So we take them for a three stages processes. Now, the first stage is when they give birth. There is a place that we already visit here, and that we feed almost 75% is we feed it. Then we move to the next stage where we had gone. That is where now we feed 50-50. They have to look for wherever. Now there are last stages where now we released. That where we released them, there we don't. There are all still 3 processes there. Again, there's a process where we are feeding 20% or 25%. And the last stage is where we will now not feed at all. And that is where we are trying to also discuss with KWS, because it will and the KFS, because there has to be a bigger area. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, they have to look for the shrubs, the food and everything. We have not gotten to the last stage yet. We are still gonna be going to that last stage.
So we are at stage 2 now?
Yeah, stage 3 of where we are, but now the stage 4 is when they are wild. We don't know, we only put a chip and we know where they are.
And so far they are doing okay?
They have done okay because we are able, through the cameras, as you mentioned, we are able to track where they are, and we have not been able to lose any of them. And actually, we have had, I think now, 4 babies that have been born on the wild now. Yeah. So those are real proper wild ones.
Yeah. And how long does it take from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3? In terms of, like, do you take a few years?
Yes, quite a number of the years, because the bongo, remember, the gestation period for the bongo is 9 months. Then the baby itself stays with us, and then we choose which ones we are. But we try as much as possible to those are your wild beasts. I think they are having their meeting or their shade of their in the afternoon.
Yeah,
they are fed now.
Yeah. And shade from the sun, maybe.
The shade from the sun, and that's why you can see where they have assembled is under the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we are saying it's very important that we keep growing the trees. A tree like this, cedar, red cedar,
will be not less than 120 years. This.
Oh, wow.
So when you put a power saw, it takes you 10 minutes to cut that tree,
Yeah.
or even less than that, and then it will take 120 years to get that. So that's why the protection is very, very
It's
important.
very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you can see firsthand how important it is to the wildlife.
Mm.
Yeah. Wow. So, so the ones that have been born right now, the 4,
Yeah.
right? So they've been born in a semi-wild environment.
Semi-wild now. Yeah.
So then that means they don't even know this.
No, they don't know that, and now they are all now for the stage that you're asking, stage 4.
Yeah.
So in another 2 years or 18 months, they should be able to move them to that stage now.
Ah.
Yes, now to the final stage, which again, it will call for us to fence the place, or so that they are not, because the forest is too big, and of course, if they went to the final stage of the forest, it will be difficult. It was difficult to trace them or to track them where they are. But that is the balance that we are hoping that we can get into. That do we release completely into this stage, or do we now still breed them enough that we can take them to Eburu, to other places, even here at the next where we have a few bongos still remaining in Aberdare. Should we, but that will leave to KWS to interpret where is the best they think is the safest area for them to survive to get to the next. Because Brian, it will be so bad to do all this work for all these millions who are poured there, and the next thing is we introduce and they are all gone again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the government must take the responsibility for the next,
to sustain it.
Yeah, sustain it.
Yeah. And the orphanage. Tell me something about the orphanage.
Yes, the orphanage, we have embarked on replanning this, the conservancy itself, because it has been ad hoc running by the previous people. So we have embarked and we have given this to WATG. WATG is one of the big planners in the US, and like now you can see most of the planning in Saudi Arabia is being done by that company, WATG. They want the tender to replan this place, and why we are doing that is we want to bring now we are changing. It's not we don't want to give the name of orphanage, because why are we moving away from the word orphanage? Because these animals are brought by the people, and it's not a must that they must stay with us. We want some of them that can be able to go back. We now tender them and release them as fast as they can before they become domesticated. Yeah. And because the more the animal remains out of its natural habitat, when it goes back to the natural habitat, it's hunted by the others and it's not able to get back to its normal way. That's why we are thinking, how do we get it a bigger area where it's much more better and much more comfortable for them? And we are planning that it will also have an animal hospital where some of the animals that come with a broken something, with a broken legs, we can be able to tender for them. It's interesting. We had one of the lions that we received here. It was totally bred. We were able to get it treated and into the eyes, and surgery was done, and now it is almost 60% is able to see its way, and it was a totally bred. We have a lot of those examples right now. The leopard had been caught up and one leg cut. So again, that one you cannot reintroduce it back, because a 3-legged leopard will not be able to survive there. So even some of the buffaloes that have been brought here, they cannot survive. So it's a case by case, and that's why I'm saying we don't want to call it an orphanage, because some of them will be brought back, and the word orphan is not a very good word to use. So
it's a rehabilitation
place. We are gonna be more a rehabilitation area than an orphanage that we are creating. We hope that by next year, when you come back, by this month, we'll have finalized with this
let's give it the same name that we are talking of, orphanage,
Yeah.
but the rehabilitation for the
Center.
animals. Yeah.
And again, as you said, the doctors that you're using, they're all, Kenyans and Africans, like
Yes.
Dr.
Dr.
Robert.
Ruho. Robert
Ruho.
is from Uganda,
He's a Ugandan,
very
yeah.
committed
Yeah,
gentleman,
yeah,
and always improving to the next level,
yeah.
We have quite a lot of the youngster doctors who have joined here, the Kenyans,
Yeah.
and they are learning quite a lot about what's the next, and we are trying to, as much as possible, to attach them into places like Manchester Zoo, where they go for a few months, they come back, they see how the good animal care that is given in that. And then we are also getting the ones from Manchester coming to Kenya to also see the natural habitat of these animals themselves, what
Yeah.
they need to create into their country. Because when we went into Manchester Zoo, you find they are trying to put the bongos like a pen, a small pen. So the animal is also stressed.
Stressed, yes.
It's highly stressed. So how do they now get that? And it's a both way. We are learning. We learn some things from them, and they learn from us. So we are starting that program of the exchange in this conservancy.
Yes,
Because it's not a big place,
Yeah.
but it has got its uniqueness that you can be. We are trying to recreate to be a place for the endangered species. And the endangered species, as I said, they don't have to be the animals only. We hope we'll be able to go even to the plants themselves.
And even San Diego Zoo, they were here as well. When you talk to these people who run zoos and they come here, would you advise them to maybe have this in their own areas?
The lucky thing is they both have a very advanced way, because if you look at somewhere like Manchester Zoo,
You can't believe its profitability is over £5 million a year.
Wow.
So with that kind of profitability, they are able to do a lot of research. So for us, we are able to tap
onto them because they have the big amount for the research, but they are also able to come here and also do the research that they are able to.
Wildlife research, yes.
Wildlife research. And there is a lot we can learn from them, and they are very open on learning what we have in Africa. And I think in the coming years we'll have a lot of collaboration with these institutions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the moment, does Mount Kenya Life Conservancy, do you have partners, people who maybe would like to support?
We have tried to keep it within my group support.
Okay.
There are a few people who have been a supporter of it for a long time ago, but 95% is done by the group that JCG is the chief contributor for this, and we want to get it to a point where by the time you are getting other people to come, you have shown that you are able and capable and accountable for every cent that goes through. That's why I try as much as possible to be a JCG so that accountability can be held 100%. And a lot of the people quite a number of people will come and with their own with their thoughts of what they want to achieve. Some of them, maybe it will not be the same thing that we want to achieve as a conservation place.
Yeah.
And we have seen the fights in a lot of these conservancies that goes on, but we never have had one here because we don't have partners. The only people who are able to question is the group themselves who contribute to this noble cause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know JCG,
the Animals Continental Group.
Yes. And comes from the beginning of all things.
Yeah, beginning and the end. Yes, two ways. You look forward and you look back. Yes.
Then that's how you've always lived your life.
Yes.
You cannot ignore the past.
No, you can't ignore, but you can't remain on the past.
But then you can't remain in the past. You have to look forward.
Yeah. If you look at the past, I mean the past, it has a lot of things to tell. Because I was just telling you a story about if you look at 20 years ago, 25, you had that uprising of Matiba.
Yes.
And the people.
Yep.
You had how it was handled.
Yes.
That is a big learning because
President Moi could not have stopped it coming. But he looked at it and saw this is coming. How do I
Adapt.
get it? It's like a river, it's like a storm coming. It's either you try to stop it and then it goes with you, or you direct it. You become the master of it and direct it.
Yeah. How is your relationship here with the county? Like, we are in Laikipia County, yeah?
No, it's a very interesting place where we are, Brian, because we are between Nyeri, we are in Laikipia, and we are in Meru. When you cross the river down here, you're in Meru. So you're in these three counties.
Okay.
And I think Dr. Aruha and the people here have kept a very good relationship. And I think the counties are quite a civil people who lead the counties. We have not had an issue ourselves with the counties.
Good.
No.
And also you employ the local community. So you're giving jobs to their people.
Yes.
Both in all in Laikipia, Meru, and Nyeri counties.
Even Samburu, there's a lot of the Samburu people employed here. Yes. Even up to Baringo, I see quite a bit. Like there's a gentleman who, when I'm going on for a ride called Kaken, he's the one who goes looking whether there's a wild buffalo waiting for me. So, yes. So,
as you do the cycling.
As I do the cycling in the mornings.
So it's a good relationship. It's just like wildlife, symbiotic. As you said, the waterbucks there, they're giving opportunities to leopards to eat them.
Yes.
So here as well, if you provide opportunities for the people here, then definitely. Oh, okay. So apart from the bongo, do you have any other wildlife species that you want to really take care of?
As I said, we are trying to see what is the next endangered species that belong to this area.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised, even something like Suni. I don't know whether you know Suni. It's a very small, it's the tiniest of the antelopes, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can't get them anymore.
Yeah.
So what we are saying is, how can we be able to get to that? Even leopards are getting to be so rare that it is, but leopard, you need a big area to ensure that it continues. It's something that comes into mind. But as I said, pick one thing and perfect it. We don't want to go picking 10 things, no. We just want to see what is the next that is there that we need to, what is there that we know that this work of the bongo will get into its own best way of being aligned in the next 5-7 years. It will get aligned completely, and the dream of reintroducing to whether it's Eburu or into Abadea, we'll have to do it within the next 5-7 years. We will have done the first introduction out. So after that is when we will think, what is the next? Yeah, you can see our good friend. Yes, they're very interesting animals, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's fascinating because most people actually know the warthog because of we're talking about film, Lion King film. So, I mean, encouraging people to make even films like that here in Kenya about wildlife. Educate people.
For the youth, it is the best thing that they can, and the Kenyans will do that very easily.
Very easily, yeah.
Short ones, and they can be able to tag, and then they make their money out of that.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we would want to also to encourage the youngsters and see how can we cooperate with this without damaging what we have done.
Yeah. And as you said, you have Dr. Robert told me that for now you have about 40,000 kids who come every year.
Yes.
That's a huge number. You know, and even if let's say 30%, not even 30,000 of them, right, go back with
the message.
With a message, that's enough for them to take to their kids at home who've not come.
Yes.
You know,
and the multiplication factor.
Yeah.
If you did even 20 or 30,000 kids come here, each kid now goes and narrates to 3 or 4 of the other kids. You can see each year how many you are converting.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, we need to encourage that more. And animation movies for children, you know, instead of Paw Patrol, you know, we can have our own versions.
Yes.
How do you balance your work life and your family life? And because I know you're very busy. We've been planning this interview for close to half a year.
Yes.
So how do you balance your work life and family life and your hobbies?
Let me tell you, people talk of balance. There is one word that I tell people, don't use the word balance. There's no balance. When you have a passion of anything, you are drawn to that fully.
Yeah, because I still spend time with my family, and I have a time with them. Like now, they are here for the holidays. We are together for the holidays. But when I set sail to go to these other countries that have got business, yes, we have calls together, and then we have video conference or whatever on Sundays. Some of my kids are big, so we have a family culture on Sundays with them, and we discuss of what has happened, not only on the issues of family, but of the businesses that we are doing, and they are able to also understand where the family is. So you see, it is getting back to work at the end of the day, despite people. It's not a family that has been divided, that this is they don't get into business and this is family. No, they are still part and parcel of the family. You can see even now the buffaloes and the zebras. This is a different. Yeah, it's quite a bit of a difference when you come to this.
Yeah.
They are still able to mix.
How are the alpacas doing here? Are they llamas?
Llamas.
They are llamas.
Llamas. They are both.
They are both. How are they doing here?
You know, they have really multiplied fast, and we have given them even to universities or to continue their own researches. Yes.
They would do very well here in Kenya.
They do very well, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, they were brought purposely for film making, because they instead of the people trying to carry their heavy cameras, these animals can go up to the top of the mountain. They are one of the few ones that, because of their lungs and the way they are done, their oxygenation, they are able to still carry loads of cameras and the heavy things up to the mountains. So that's why they had brought them for that program. Yes.
Yeah, and that's why they live in Peru, the high
mountains.
The high mountains. Yeah. Thank you so much for the drive.
No, it's me to thank you. At least you have committed to be here 2 days. Not easy coming from your work.